Hello, I'm Daniel and welcome to the Emunah Project. We here at the Emunah Project are continuing in our series of videos with respect to inspiration, education, information, guidance, advice, and I'm reminded of the concept, that God's judgment is perfect. His works are perfect, His judgment is perfect, His paths are of justice, righteous, fair. I'm referring to verses in Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 4. Hashem's judgment is perfect. Now, the fact that we may not understand His ways doesn't alter the fact that they're perfect, and it doesn't in any manner affect the righteousness of His judgment. We must view the divine decrees as perfect. The essence of faith, the essence of Emunah, is our belief that the Creator, in His infinite wisdom, knows what is in the long term best for us. Short term, it could be hell, but ultimately things will work out, and that's one of the big points of Emunah, that God knows best. And we find this in Masechta Avodah Zarah, on page 18b. This is the story of Rabbi Chaninah ben Tradyon when he's walking to his execution. This is the famous Rabbi Chaninah who's wrapped up in a Torah scroll and set on fire as he's walking toward his death, his horrible, painful martyrdom. He was reciting Deuteronomy 32:4. The rock, Hatzur, the rock, perfect in His work, for all His paths are justice. A God of faith, without iniquity, righteous and fair is He. Now, it's difficult for humans with our limited perspective to comprehend this. God is fair, His judgments are perfect, everything, and a tzaddik, a great righteous person like Rabbi Hananiah ben Tradyon, burnt alive in front of his students. Rabbi Akiva, his skin torn from his flesh by iron combs. These people died horrible, horrible martyrdoms. People have had their faces peeled off while they were living. It's hard to look at this and say that these judgments are fair and righteous and perfect, and it's because of our limited perspective. We don't have the big picture. The Chofetz Chaim gives an example. A man travels to a distant community on some trip. Goes to the shul, goes to the synagogue, and the aliyahs are being handed out, people being called to the Torah, people being honored. And he sees that the people being honored, the people being called to the Torah, weren't who we would expect it to be. Respected rabbis, respected members of the community, Choshev Yidden, like valued, treasured, important people. These were ordinary, common people. They were, for lack of a better word, nobodies. Everybody, first, second, third, fifth, seventh aliyah, Hagbar, Gedila, Psuk. It was a parade of nobodies. And this guy was puzzled. He goes to the gabbai, to the guy who's running the services, deciding who gets who, and he says, "I got to tell you, this seems very strange. This is a very strange synagogue. And the Gabbai goes, well, what? What are you talking? He says, every single person here that was honored with an aliyah was basically a nobody. The rabbis, the important men, the rich people, the people who support this community, who give to charity, the learned scholars, the yeshiva guys, they get nothing, and the nobodies get the aliyah. The Gabbai shook his head. He said, had you been here last week, you would have seen that all these people that you were talking about, they got aliyahs. They were honored. And the people that you call nobodies, they got nothing. This week was their turn to be honored. So we learn from this that had we the big picture, we could see a little better why things play out the way they do. Yet we presume, we who have a lifetime, a split second on earth, we presume to know, what God should and shouldn't be doing, who he should and shouldn't let live, who he should make prosper and who he shouldn't. We know. We know better than God because, we're us, right? We have to have faith. We have to have emunah that because God sees the big picture, he sees the huge expanse of time, and what happens is for a reason. Remember the principles. Everything comes from Hashem. Everything comes from God. Everything happens for a reason, and everything that happens is for the ultimate good. Ultimately, it's for the good. It may not be for the short-term good, but we only see in the short term. And that's why it sometimes appears to us that God's judgments are not perfect. That's why we need a little wake-up call. And to be reminded, you know what? We weren't at this shul last week. We don't know what happened before. We don't know what's going to happen next week. All we see is that one brief period of time. Let's keep this in mind. Let's have a bit of perspective and keep in mind that God's ways are perfect. God's judgments are perfect. And sometimes the best thing to do is silence, like Aaron, the brother of Moses, Aaron the high priest, when his sons, Nadav and Abihu, were consumed on what should have been the greatest day of Aaron's life. He lost his two sons, killed by God. And what was his reaction? Silence. Sometimes the best reaction that we have is to emulate God, and how often he stays silent in the face of events. We're going to be doing more videos along these lines. Please come back. Please watch. Please learn. And until next time, on behalf of the Emunah Project, I'm Daniel, and thank you too much.